You probably saw my last 2 videos, or maybe just one of them, where I played a racing game, and I was driving a Mustang. And I did say that I had one, believe it or not. I actually have 2, but today, we're just going to be taking a look at this one. This one has a 4.6-liter V8. It's a 2-valve with a 5-speed manual transmission. It is a 99, so it has the anniversary badges. Nothing crazy. They didn't change too much. I think the only major difference is that it got the different side vents. So it got the 2001 side vents a little faster than most of the other models.
I made a mistake. I said that I had the 2001 side vents. They're actually the 99s. The spoiler is probably also a 99. I think I just straight up lied.
I'm a lying piece of shit.
Then they go back to it in 2000. They'll go back to the other ones. And the spoiler is different. I don't have a hood scoop, so some people think it's a V6. It is not. It may sound like a V6 because the exhaust is completely stock. In fact, this car is almost 100% stock, besides small stuff like this. Previous owner just put on some American Muscle like cosmetics, so it has gas cap with the GT logo, and it has a billet shift knob on the inside there. Nothing spectacular, I'd argue. Just gives it a little extra spice. I really like this car, despite of only owning it for a couple of months. But it has no rust. It doesn't really have any major mechanical issues. Is it fast? No. Mustangs are not fast. The only time a Mustang is fast is when you put an LS in it. That's when a Mustang gets fast. Or a Coyote. Kind of depends on what side of the gay spectrum you're on. If you're queer or if you like beer. Me personally, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with this car. I plan to show it off a little more. Maybe we'll do some mods to it. We'll see. Nothing super rice. I don't want to put coilovers on it. That's gay. I don't want to do like clap shifters. I don't want to strip the interior. I want to keep it mostly the way it is for now. Something pretty interesting about this car, and probably says a lot about it and a lot about who owned it. It actually has a trailer hitch. Why? Why would you put a trailer hitch on a Mustang? If we look down there, you can just barely see it. It's the only thing on this car that has rust. I'm not gonna lie, not very cool. Another thing that's unfortunate about those types of hitches that they put on, it's bolted right into the frame, so now there's holes in my frame. I also have to cut it off. I tried just unbolting it, but there are some spots where you just have to cut it off. So maybe that'll come in a later video where I take an angle grinder to it and see how far we can get. Hopefully I can get it off. Not only did it have a trailer hitch, impressively enough, this person must have been very serious about towing and didn't just want to tow stuff, but he also added trailer brake lights. I'm gonna have to figure out how to remove this, or I can just ignore it. Slightly annoying. The only thing this car can probably tow is a small boat or a mini trailer if you're bringing your drummer around. Drummer abuse is real. I think the max towing this thing has is probably like 1,800 pounds. I'm pretty sure that's the max it could tow without like absolutely destroying it. I could be completely wrong. I just wouldn't do that, especially in a manual. You're just gonna destroy the clutch every time. You're making the car weigh, another 1,000 pounds. It's already a fat boat. You don't need to tow another fat boat with it. I think in order to do this car justice, we need to go drive it. Get to the driving. Safety first. Not that I care. All right. Missed second, classic. That's a classic. It honestly drives really nice. After owning 2 Mustangs, the first one was absolute hell. The other car that I own is a 1995 V6 Mustang Coupe. Probably one of the worst cars you can buy, but they're really cheap. There's a big fan base around them, and half of the people that follow those cars are extremely gay. And I'm not even saying that to be funny. Like, genuinely, they are extremely gay. And a lot of the big problems with the 95 Mustang that I had, and just overheat all the time. And that, that's not a common problem, but I drive like a retard. And when you drive like a retard and you don't check your coolant very often, bad things happen. It was overheating a lot, and so I just add more coolant. Eventually the head gasket blew, and I fixed that for some reason because cheaper than buying a new car in this day and age. Worked out for a while. It still drives, but it just drives like absolute donkey shit. It's really slow, the suspension is ass, and the steering is pretty much gone. This car is such a relief to not have any of those problems. This car doesn't even have a rear main seal leak. That is a very common problem after 100,000 miles. Doesn't have it. Doesn't leak oil like pretty much at all. I think the only problem with this car is that the valve covers were replaced incorrectly. For whatever reason, the guy told me that he did them and he did them right. He told me that he maybe put 30 miles on the car before he sold it to me after he did that repair. He should have put a little more because after I put some miles on it, they started to leak. They don't leak terribly bad, but I've got new ones on the way and hopefully I'll get them done right. And then it won't be a leaky piece of shit. I say piece of shit strongly, even though I just glazed this car and I said it's pretty good. And it really is. Everything in this car just handles perfectly fine. I think the only thing wrong with it in terms of handling is probably the rear shocks, which doesn't even bother me that much. I'm going from an absolute jalopy to a somewhat decent car. Many people will disagree, because it is a slow turd after all. It is still faster than your C4 Corvette though. That mullet that you have with your C4 Corvette or Firebird, the only thing that's doing is pulling single mothers who wish that they could live in their 20s again. It's the only thing you're really doing. This car isn't pulling either though. The only thing it's pulling is fat cows in the Midwest.
And boats.
And boats, apparently. Not gonna hit 100. Probably shouldn't even show that. This was filmed in Mexico in Forza Horizon 5. This is not real life, this is satire. One of my favorite things about this car, which I cannot display because the camera will just absolutely not do it justice, is it has a mock audio system. It's pretty common in most of the Mustangs that came out after 2000, but a lot of the 90s Mustangs did not have it. It was a more expensive option. My previous Mustang did not have it. And for, a 28-year-old stereo system, it does not sound that bad. So someone in the comments, put the comment up here somewhere, I don't remember their name. They said that I am much like them in the aspect that I obsess over the Mustang to death. That is somewhat true. When you're a kid or a younger adult like I am, and this is like your first real experience working on cars and driving them and understanding how they work, you kind of tend to obsess over the first couple of cars that you have. My hope is to eventually have a lot of cars, because I love cars. And I want to work on all sorts of different types of cars. I don't just want to do Mustangs. If I had the option to, I'd be talking about all sorts of cars right now. But since this is what I have, this is what I'm going to talk about. What would I get if I had any other car other than a Mustang? And to answer that question, honestly, I would probably, this might get some hate, I'd probably actually get a BMW. If I could, if I had the resources. Only because they are supposed to be a luxury sports car. But they fail in some aspects due to their age. And then you see a lot of parts fail, much like a lot of other cars, but they're so computerized that it can be difficult to work around. That's why I wouldn't. Or an Audi. I would love to have an Audi S4, but with the way things are and not having enough space to really be working on a car all the time, I just can't justify that. And not having enough money to fix a lot of the expensive problems that come with owning a foreign car, like timing chains, I just don't want to risk it. If the timing chain ever goes out on this fucker, and it's really bad, Crown Victoria motor, boom, police interceptor motor, they're really common in the area that I live in. Audis, the 2.0 is pretty common, but the 2.0 is kind of shit. The 1.8T is where it's at. Alternatively, I could run up a Jetta, because I know some people that have had Jettas and can get a lot of help with that. I'm more or less making excuses for why I own a Ford, but those could be some really fun cars to work on, especially since they're not naturally aspirated. And that is something I have not fully explored yet, is turbocharged cars and supercharged cars. Because there's a lot more you can play with when it comes to them, and more options for tuning. If I were to tune this car, I can't really go super far with it. You know, stock internals, stuff that wasn't meant for boost. If I put a turbo on it, I can't just slap it right in there. I gotta rebuild almost the entire thing if I want it to work successfully. Now, I know some people, some keyboard warriors are like, well, just upgrade the camshaft and get forged internals. Do you know how expensive that can be? As well as adding a $5,000 turbo kit? That is absolutely insane. Money that I just don't have right now. If I did have the money, I'd absolutely do it. We'd have a twin turbo Mustang right here. And I've seen some junkyard builds where they throw that kind of stuff on there. You know, for super cheap, like $2,000, they get the eBay turbo kit. They just chuck it on there. You know, they no thoughts about it. I just don't want to do that. Because like I said, I'd be constantly working on the car, tearing it apart, rebuilding it. And that would be fun. But for right now, while I'm living at home, it's just not going to work out. For now, I'm going to try my best and see how far I can get with living at home and building a car for the most part. It's probably just going to end up being a mostly stock. We'll leave it open-ended. It might not be stock. I might totally clap the shit out of this thing and turn it into a ricer. Who knows? I don't know what I'm going to feel like in a couple of days. I'm bipolar as fuck. The fuck did I do to my car? Who drove it like this, man? Ugh. At least it's not the Mustang, bro. Wait, why is that side covered in mud and this side really is not as bad?
Maybe hit a puddle.
Yeah, I probably did. And don't you guys in the comments be like, well, obviously it has an open diff. It doesn't, bro. It does not have an open diff. It has an LSD. Maybe I'll get a posse. That is something that I do want to get. I do want to get a posse diff. I want to make this a fucking burnout machine. A monster, if you will. I feel like every Mustang guy says that, and then they just hit a crowd. They're like, yeah, dude, I want to make it a burnout machine. I want to make it a drift machine. And then they try to do either one of those things instantly. They just kill people. It is what happens when you try to modify your car. It either blows up or you kill people. So I gotta be honest with you guys. Early in the video, I said I was just gonna keep it stock. That's almost completely a lie. The car will probably blow up at some point or another because I don't know how to drive, and all I can do is do reckless driving pretty much. I try to drive normally for about 5 seconds. I just can't do it. So it's probably gonna blow up at some point or another, and then it's gonna get rebuilt, and I'll probably do that like 5 times, and that'll be the life of this channel until I buy another car, for the most part. But I do have some crazy things I want to do. I said earlier I didn't want to do coilovers. I did find a solution for lowering the car that works a lot better. The rebound on Fox body shocks is a lot lower, so it could have a lower stance without losing the compression of a shock, without it actually feeling like a turd. I wouldn't feel every bump, so I could get lowering springs and Fox body shocks, like aftermarket ones that are more sporty, slightly more aggressive, without having to drill holes and adjust for coilovers, which, in my opinion, coilovers are great, but not for a Mustang. It's just not, it's not something I want to do, especially for this build. Maybe for some of your guys' builds out there, that's great. Not for me, though. I don't want coilovers. Not yet, at least, and not this car. Different car? Absolutely. Sure, I'll make like a stiff piece of shit with a stripped interior. Maybe I'll do some type of Civic. I don't know. We'll see in the future. We'll see what it holds for us. Hopefully it holds a lot of great things. This dam is so peaceful. Ain't that right? I think that's going to do it for this video. I just wanted to show you guys the car because I was talking about it in one of my other videos. Just kind of show it off and, you know, show that it's there. I have a little bit of knowledge about cars. I'm not just a keyboard Forza warrior like some people on TikTok are. It's quite annoying. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. See ya.
Microphone. Dang, your car's getting stolen.
That sucks. They probably don't know how to drive it, to be honest with you. Can someone please make a Danasaur coin, pump it, dump it, and say that it was me?